So let's have a discussion about the homeless man on the corner. All right, well, guess a lot of those people in jails and a lot of those people that are without might be paying for what you've forgotten and denied. And give your allegiance to an incorporated policy of a foreign governance other than yourself. And as you conform and comply to their obedience, and you surrender because we protect your innocence, and you think that they're the heroes, well, the civic duty of your person is to stand for one another and to give a fist. That's why so many people occupy Wall Street, Walmart, build a wall. He says, doesn't he? Build a wall, digital prison. Just use your money against you and then try to give it back to you as if it's theirs. Serious. That's only during a time of war. You're only supposed to pay 7% on the spent dollar, all these other taxes. So if I've got, let's see, the girl they shoved in my life under Test Me Against My Opportunity, Olivia Cheyenne Graham and Nikki Graham, her mother was an IRS agent. All right. Christopher Alvalon was a Bountiful City hostage negotiator that gave pictures of me to all the surrounding cities to hunt me and all that good other stuff as a child. They put me into a behavior class because of my dyslexia in 2nd grade. Locked me up there. Moved a cop into my house who was an LDS missionary. Evelina Biggs, or Evelina Price, her mother is Pearl Roberts Price, Wade, whatever, Pearl of Great Price, Pearl Harbor, or Pearl of Great Price of the thing, whatever. Evelyn's first husband was Russell Nelson. He became the subdivided president of the LDS Church. He just passed away. Thank goodness. I was under attack. He's an FBI agent too. John Lund's a Supreme Court judge. John and Diane, that's the sister, so I guess that'd go into England as well, wouldn't it? Let's see. Carrie and John Wayne, like the John Gracie case. I get nailed with everything. I got Josh Powell. I got Ted Bundy. I got the whole 9 yards. It'll always come back to who I am. Cracking the cerebellum and merging in is not good. I mean, they got Charles Manson, all that stuff on what they're doing now. They're going back in and causing a reflection of war. When it's right now, it's their allegiance to their missionaries going into these countries with the FBI and all that stuff, all that good stuff. Central Intelligence, Internal Revenue. Anyway, and then Amanda Allred, her mother was Workman's Comp. My sister married John Workman. His brother was a jeweler. And Tom Reynolds, Reynolds Company, tobacco. LDS and the sheriff. We got a lot to do with all that as well. But it's not their person, it's their position, what they stand for. Covered up. So let me explain. Workman's Comp takes 60%. It's zeroed out to look like 100%, which leaves you with 40%. State, which I'm my own state of consciousness and awareness, and you can't in the thing say you're a state because that incorporates everybody. It's a state of attractive land of a condition. So that means, like that's the high desert, there's this, there's that. Each one's a different state of attractive land. And the Borders of Protection was to make sure that nobody was persecuted, regulated, tax discriminated at, or blocked of life, land, or liberty, discriminated against, or held against their will, involuntary to non-voluntary servitude. which would be what enslavement is. Human trafficking and other means. Inhumane trafficking. Human testing. That no organization should be fined or use the people or feed upon the people. That it was meant to maintain property and its properness of its independence and protect itself by doing so. Because no organization can own land. That's why they took me before Judge Nolan, huh? No land. It made me, but you know, went in and pulled parts of me out. Went right into my flesh like film. Go in there and start ripping my future out, my children and all that. You'd have to know how that works, but it's pretty bad to try to actually physically go in and excite my flesh, my independence to living. Once you touch somebody spiritually of your physical flesh or use radiation, so this 2020 is the Hippocratic Oath. 10 Commandments. It's my birthday. I'd explain who my children are and their birthday and how that all works. It's kind of cool how to see how that works. But the Hippocratic Oath, hypocrisy of the hippies in Oregon, state that's Oregon. It's a monastery or radiation between two fields of a nucleus or pineal gland is a weapon of mass destruction. So we're Bountiful City. Oh, anyway, so it's 25%. Feds take 25%. So you're already in the negative. And then we're equal protection, violence against women and children, which they're doing, they're passing down. Well, this emerging sea of 9/11 or 29, all right, 99 or 101, Highway 101 education of a university where their police departments were killing people. Now the president's out there letting them into the TSA, letting them in everywhere, so they're controlled by these privately owned cities. And you got now sheriff's departments enforcing city codes and ordinances, blocking people from talking to judges, to the FBI, to city senators. They're at every gate. It doesn't matter what you do, you can't go report to any of them anyway, because they're protecting their job, not their independence or the civic duty. They've surrendered their civic duty and their independence to their job. Seriously. So now the president comes out and says, all America's doing is a rich country living upon the backs of independent people. You're damn right they're doing well, because they're denying what they're doing and filling their jails with independent people to get them to conform and getting them into behavioral jails and behavioral this and behavioral that for causing that and being disorderly of a domestic policy, committing child abuse and abuse on men and women, to use them as a tool to fill their jails and fill their freaking their schools and force them into organizations and denying it. Don't, even standing out here trying to make money, they're trying to force you into education or into organization. Donate to an organization, not to the independents. Blocking people of their civic duty and their right and their responsibility to one another so they're not overthrown. It's double jeopardy. We've already fought every day for our civil rights, civil independence, proclamation, emancipation, freedom from tax and tax enslavement. So they attacked the new Delta State, which was Twin Towers, through emergency 911 broadcast from sea to sea, attacking their own infrastructure from the World 300, and then blaming other people outside. It's the truth. I was with Godfrey Trucking on the side of that building, moving out some furniture. We moved it up into freaking Arizona. I lived on 1060 West, 400 North. The little boy across the street that did the Trolley Square shooting. Well, you go into Bend, Oregon, you look at their 555 of Roosevelt Highway, you see the trolley they got in the bottom of the garage. One of our friends' names was Brad. Bradley Lake's right there. Creating so much atmospheric pressure to cause people to go out and do school shootings because they're trying to get, it's them pulling children. From sea to sea. The guy at McGrath's where my sister worked, supposedly a gentleman, the manager had followed the two girls, the daughter and the mother, home from work and beat them over the head with a hammer. Sure sounds like a fish being beat over the head with a hammer, doesn't it? Pulling people out into nature through radiation between two fields and taking and collecting their essence of who they are. Veterans affair, like a veterinarian. Moving the soul or spirit of somebody is not a game to play through the intellectual sea. Pulling them through the bottleneck, that's why they come out with blonde hair. Kind of like Hitler, right? The city holocaust of information of cities. It's identical to what's going on right now. It's the same thing because it's happening now, not then. You're projecting it. When they find out you flip them around and they're going to face their independence, doesn't matter because you are independent and born from any center. It's your immediate relief of control. Doesn't matter. You can jump and divide them scales all you want and use lead, light, and lead over the freedom of expression because it's not gold and minerals you take from the earth. It's your happiness and joy. Woman with a smile. Pearl is from Silver Plains, Illinois. Also Howell's where the KKK started. But that's 1.1. That's not what they made it out to be. Because the opposition would be the black sheep from the white sheep. It'd be a bright sun. They use Black Lives Matters to get you to think that you enslaved them, but actually it's your judgment, your racism against one another. All life be equivalent. It's only them using you against each other to create fear of one another. You have to stand within and be not afraid of one another and work hand in hand, put away these governance of each other and ruling one another. Don't choose the right and leave everything behind. Be self-centered. My intellectual property used against me through the legal system of code and ordinance that is not law, in violation of color law, leading, he says, well, we led with terror. Yeah, one terror. And that was Josh Powell, P-O-W, prisoner of war. My name is Josh Howell, H-O-W-E-L-L. Like Lake Powell, Flaming Gorge. Stopping the riverways, Conquill River and Bandon from the ditch next to it. Charleston Howell III, King of Wells, they say. Take my identity and other things like that. I'm just king of getting people well, you know what I mean? That's the only difference. My children made me a king. We're all kings and queens of our heads of our own household. Don't give it away. And don't give your children and your parental duties to the education board and to your doctors, DOC, Department of Correction,